Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, January 2nd, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, today we're celebrating three different Marian celebrations. The first, and probably the most well-known, is La Virgen del Pilar in Zaragoza, Aragon, in Spain. This is Our Lady of the Pillar. Now, according to the long tradition, the Apostle Saint James the Greater, known as Santiago in Spanish, was evangelizing Spain with 8 followers when, on the night of January 2nd in the year 40, Christ's mother Mary appeared to him, standing on a stone pillar. She asked for a church to be built there, on that spot, promising to help those who came to invoke her aid. When she disappeared, the pillar remained to mark the spot. Some versions also say that the Blessed Virgin gave St. James a statuette of herself. Right? Now, you may be thinking, well, that sounds like a lot of, Marian apparitions. That's very interesting. But what's particularly interesting about this one is that it would have occurred when Mary was still alive. Meaning, it wasn't like she came down from heaven, but it was a bilocation or miraculous transport, right? So, the city switched hands, actually. There's a document of 835, which already speaks of a church of the Virgin Mary in Zaragoza. But it doesn't mention the statue. Okay, that's fine. The Muslims took over the city in 714, and it wasn't until Alfonso I took it back in 1118 that the Christian church was built, right? Now, that church was burnt down in 1435 and rebuilt as it stands presently, right, of the 1700s. There's a small wooden statue of Our Lady with Child that stands upon the Jasper pillar, and it dates probably from the 1400s. It's interesting that there are 3 feasts that they celebrate there in her honor. January 2nd, January 20th, the anniversary of her canonical coronation in 1905, and October 12th, the Fiesta del Pilar, the Feast of the Pillar. The statue is always displayed vested, like draped in its embroidered gown, except on the 2nd, 12th, and 20th of every month. It's interesting, too, because this is one of the most well-known Marian devotions in the Spanish-speaking world, which is why girls are often named Pilar in honor of this devotion. The second feast that we'll celebrate today, or I guess recall today, is when the feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary, of Our Lady of Divine Providence, the anniversary of when she arrived on the island of Puerto Rico, right? Now, again, you may be thinking, well, that's not the day we celebrate Our Lady of Divine Providence, the patroness of Puerto Rico. No, but January 2nd is when she was brought to the island, right? Yeah, the feast is now November 19th, because that's when Pope St. Paul VI moved it. And lastly, we have the Abbey of Dunes, Abdij der Dunen, founded in honor of Mary. This is in Flanders, Belgium. And this abbey, surprisingly, dates all the way back to 1128. A new abbey was built there in the 1600s by Cistercian monks, and it's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The abbey itself is in ruins, but you can visit it, even today. For today's reading from The Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we continue with Chapter 3, wherein the saint compares Mary's heart with the throne of King Solomon. Yesterday, he gave us a description from the Book of Chronicles and then from the Song of Songs. And today, he starts out by asking, what does all this mean? Here's the answer. The throne and the couch of Solomon symbolize the same representation, namely, the holy heart of the Queen of the world, the couch representing her heart in contemplation, the litter describing it in action. Mary's heart is at once the throne and the bed of the true Solomon, Jesus Christ our Lord. It is the bed on which he rests in the sweetness and calm of contemplation. It is the litter in which love and charity that set him on his throne carry him from place to place, that he may reign everywhere for the glory of God and the salvation of souls. An illustrious commentator expresses a similar thought when he says, the bed of Solomon represents the heart resting in the sweetness of contemplation. His litter is the heart going about in the exercise of good works. That's taken from Hugh of St. Victor. Who are the valiant ones surrounding Solomon's bed, well armed and expert in war? According to Saint Bernard and several other learned doctors, they are the angels and the mightiest among the angels, namely the seraphim, who, armed with God's strength and expert in combat against his enemies, always keep watch around the seraphic heart of their empress in the world's dark night. They kept guard against the fears in the night. That is, they prevented the powers of darkness to approach and in any way trouble the divine Solomon as he rested on this holy couch. That's what Saint Bernard says in his homily. But let us return to Solomon's litter. He designed it with his own hands, like the throne of the palace on Libanus. Fecit sibi. That's a Song of Songs, chapter 3, verse 9. He made it himself. In like manner, our adorable Solomon is himself the author of the incomparable masterpiece of Mary's heart. He prepared for himself a throne worthy of his infinite grandeur and eternal majesty in the august heart of his glorious mother. We have good reason to call Solomon's litter a figure of the throne of the King of Kings, namely of the heart of the most holy mother of this great king. St. Gregory of Nyssa tells us that this throne of Solomon is a figure of the heart of every faithful Christian. And a famous doctor says that the heart of the true Christian is the litter of the Son of God, because it goes where the one it bears wills that it should go, and never elsewhere. It's from Richard of St. Victor. This was fulfilled more perfectly in the heart of the Most Holy Virgin than in the hearts of even the holiest of creatures. Her virginal heart never experienced inclinations or affections other than those it derived from the Master, who held absolute sway over it. So for today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we begin Meditation 24, which again continues this theme of meditating on the Annunciation, but in particular this time, the Father Villar asks us to consider the virginal purity of Mary. So we'll consider 2 points today. First, the objections of Mary, and second, virginity in general. The objections of Mary. Mary has still an objection to the words of the angel. It is a fear of herself. Eve in paradise fears when eating the forbidden fruit, but she does not fear sin. She only fears the punishment of sin, namely death. On the contrary, Mary's only fear on receiving the angel's message is lest she should go against her word to God. Her fear is just, reasonable, holy, inspired by the love of God and of virtue. Are these your objections whenever you hear the voice of God? Are your fears not rather prompted by your self-love, which is always so ready to offer resistance to the divine demands? And second, virginity. How great is Mary's love for virginal purity! Behold what unheard of glories, what ineffable grandeur is offered to Mary on behalf of God and through the mouth of an angel. Yet she is not dazed. She thinks of her virginity, and since the choice seems to be between the dignity of being God's mother or the sacrifice of the virginity she has vowed to God, she has no hesitation. She chooses the grace that sanctifies rather than the grace that exalts and raises to honor. Meditate in silence on the love which Mary has for virginity. Let your heart exhaust itself, expanding with feelings of admiration for your mother. Recall the vow she made at the age of 3, the fidelity she used in keeping it, the test to which the Lord now submits it. See how Mary, as a prudent, humble, and most chaste virgin, scores a victory over all and holds high the banner of virginity. No doubt, God is enamored of Mary even more now on seeing her so virginal and pure. What she fears to be a hindrance is rather an attraction which impels God to choose her as his mother. Precisely because she is a virgin, she is going to be the mother of God.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.